Okay, so welcome everyone to this workshop dedicated to spectroscopy, use Python in spectroscopy and astronomy. This is the second workshop, and this night it's about the first step in Python environment. So with the usual speaker, Vincent and Matthieu. Oh, so sorry, I have to admit some people. Okay, so I ask you to put your microphone off to not interfere with the speaker. But of course, you can put it on again if you have some question to ask to Vincent or Matthieu. And even you can ask your question on the chat on the bottom of your screen. So I remember you that the last workshop will take place the 2nd April at the same hour, Friday, for the last one. And now I leave the floor to François for some word.
Well, thank you very much, Olivier. So hello to everybody. And this is always a real pleasure to see so many people and to see as I said before, the faces that we already know. It's good to see again the friends, and it is also good to see newcomers to the workshop. So be welcome, and please don't be impressed if you are a newcomer in this group. This is a very, very great community, and it's great to see it's growing. So it's a real pleasure to be able to talk with you, despite all the COVID issues and so on. So it allows us to keep the contact, and it's very important. So thank you for being here, of course. And well, in few words, we have a lot of activities within Sheliak these days, because as we said, we have just shipped a few days ago the first series of the UVEX product. And well, so far I have not seen yet the first spectrum, but I think it will be very, very soon. And it's a very pleasant moment, and it's an important moment for us. And also, so we are taking part of the Solex project. So this is not a project managed by Sheliak. This is a project managed by the Christian Buil. And I've seen in the chat that most of you is already aware. That's great. But we help Christian with the logistics, and as you probably know, we received a lot of orders, much more than we have never think about, and it's a great pleasure to see so high activity, and so a lot of exchanges and so on. So it's very interesting. So, and it's great to see so many people to this workshop. So we have a great activity, and it's a pleasure to do that despite the poor conditions we have. And I hope this COVID issue will be finished very soon. And by the way, especially for the newcomer, if you are not already registered, I remind that if you want to have some news about the Sheliak activity, the best way is to register to our newsletter. You can do it on the front page, the main page of the website. Okay, so now let's talk about Python. Thank you very much to Matthieu and Vincent to organize this session. We had the same last week in French, so we know the contents, and it's again, it's very interesting. And on my mind, we just discussed before this meeting with Matthieu and Vincent, and I'm just realizing how important and how great are the tools that they are presenting, and really thank you for that. And well, now I give you the microphone. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, Matthieu, and have a good session. Well, by the way, we plan to have a meeting for roughly 2 hours if everything is okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, Olivier. Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to see you here today. I just launched the sharing. Okay. Desktop one. I think you will see yourself. Okay. And I launch. Okay. So, so welcome to the second Python workshop. Thanks for being here. We will continue to browse different uses related to the domain and start especially with Python today, because we continue after the first workshop about Astro and spectroscopy module, and today we will so getting started with Python and installing the environment and what environment we can use on our machine, our computer. And in the next workshop, we will see together some testimonials and examples of Python in the works of every day. I take a few seconds to apologize again for my English and my accent during this workshop. And this is the plan, the summary for the workshop today. We will start with basic reminders very quickly, and we will talk about virtual environments with Virtual Env and Anaconda. After that, we will try to create a script, and we see a useful concept for make it. We will see the Spider editors and try to creating a module for the next application we will do. After that, we will talk quickly about desktop application, but not with live example. And we will finish with web application with Jupyter Notebook, but with an extension and a Flask. I think if you have already try and manage Python, it will be okay for all this workshop. But if you are beginners, it is possible that the end of the workshop will be a bit more difficult, but we will take time for explain thing and watch how does it work. At the end of the workshop, all the code we will see together today will be available, and you will can play with it with every script for fun. Okay, so let's go. Let's take a few minutes for basics reminders. During the first workshop, we have seen data type. I talk quickly about this slide because we have already saw them. But if you want to remind during play with Python, it is available here. And we have seen data type with integer, float, string, and how to manage it. We have seen also list, tuples, and dictionaries, and what is commands in Python. We have play with module like an NumPy or matplotlib, and with ND array data type. And we have we have already we have also seen together how to get documentation about module and how to install it with the PyPy documentation or website. And we have also seen how to start with Python installation on Windows or Unix, and the Python interpreters, basic interpreters or interactive Python interpreters, the IPython, which is quite beautiful and easy to play with it. Okay, so we start here after this after the first workshop, and now we will see a virtual environment with Virtual Env. We take an example with our computer, and perhaps you have on your computer installed with pipe AstroPy at the version 4.1 for one project, and after that you have a new project and you have to install, or you want to test perhaps the last version of AstroPy at the version 4.2. And there is a shift, there is a difference between these two versions, and you have to install specUtil. So you disinstall the first and you install the second. Okay, after that, few times later, you have a new project and you have to install AstroPy version 3.9 because there is a regression perhaps in the new version, and you want to play, you want to use the 3.9 version, and your first or second project can't work because you tried to use 4.2, and there is a very big difference between your project, and that's not good for us. That's for why we can use a virtual environment. The virtual env will allow you to create a little box in your computer where you can install different versions of a library of a module, and our existence are very in a box, like a sandbox, and you don't have to modify your computer version, general version, AstroPy 4.1. Here you have the name of the virtual env. Here I create a WS2 env and I install AstroPy 3.9. How to make it? You have first to install virtual env with pipe. Here pipe 3, because I have Python 2 and Python 3 on my computer. So I use here pipe 3 for Python 3, install virtual env. And after that, I can create a new virtual environment. I call it WS2 for Workshop 2 environment. And on Unix, Linux, or macOS, you can type this command with Python 3 venv and your name, the name of your virtual environment. And on Windows, in the command invite, you can type py venv as the name of your environment. Okay. After that, you will have folders with this name, and you can activate the virtual environment by source on Unix, source ws2n/bin/activate. Same things on Windows, and you will have on your terminal or your in command invite the parentheses with the name of your environment, and you can install something inside and play with it in your environment. That's a good point for us, and we can go further because what is interesting for us it is to share our script, our application, and other users of our application we have to install the different library you use for your script. And with freeze of pipe, you can export all the package you have installed in your environment in a text file, requirements.txt in Unix and or Windows. And on another computer, you just have to Python pipe install requirements.txt, and it will install all the package. But be careful here, the export will export all the package, also the package the virtual env need. So there is a lot of package not very useful for us for the project, and it is a better way to write the package and the version of the package in the txt, in the file txt, the text file. Sorry. Recently, I use the library piperex, and this lib export only the package you have installed for your projects. So it is a good library. It works very well. You can use it if you want just to export the package you need for the project. And I think it is also a good point for us. Another warning is here is the Python version, because it works only principally if it is the same version of Python between the two computers. If you are in 3.5 and here in 3.9, perhaps some module, some library will have a difference and doesn't work for your project. Okay, this is the terminal way, the script way, command way for create virtual environment. And now I give the mic to Vincent for present Anaconda with a graphical way.
Yes, thank you, Matthieu. In fact, I will share my screen now. I will just have I'll just have a few slides for my part on the Anaconda platform. Maybe you already know it, but Anaconda, I think, is quite a good way when if you want to start, if you are beginning in Python. Anaconda is a free and an open source Python and R platform, which allows you to manage very easily the modules and the environments you need. The individual version of Anaconda is free, and you can get it at this address, anaconda.com, and it will work on Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. So this platform is quite easy to use, because at the beginning you will find all the tools that you need when you want to start to code with Python. You will find Jupyter Lab, the Jupyter notebook, and also a Spider, which are very good interface to work with. So from Anaconda, you will be able to launch them very easily with a graphical interface. The problem with Anaconda is that well, it's very easy to use, but it's very heavy to download. I think it weighs I think it's 900 megaoctets, so it's quite heavy to download, and it can be quite slow when you are using it, particularly when you will manage your environment. With the command lines, it's really faster. So this is the interface of the Anaconda navigator. So very simple interface. You have here the list of all the environments that you have created, and for that environment you have all the tools that are available, that you have installed or that you can install. For example, here Jupyter Lab, Jupyter Notebook, Spider. So the installed tools you have, and also their versions is also indicated. Okay. Then under the environments here menu, you have quite more details about the environments that you created. For example, here you have the list of all the environments you have, and for example, here on the astronomy environment, here are on the right side all the modules that are installed for that environment, with also their versions. Okay, and here and there you have some icons that you can use to create or to import, and globally in general to manage a new environment, for example. So this is a very graphical way to deal with your environments. So here are some as you will see, if you are using Anaconda, you will see that well, it's okay to begin with. You will learn a lot of things about the environments by playing here with all the modules, and by creating environments from a graphical point of view. But when you will use it, very often it's quite slow, so you will want to have a more faster and more efficient tool to manage your environment. And I will just show you on this slide that you can use the Conda Conda package manager to manage very easily your environments with command lines. So I would just make a little demo. I will open a terminal here. Okay, and well, just very simple command to list the environment I've already created. So conda env list. Well, okay. So this is the list of all of my environments: astronomical data, astronomize, specutils, and I want to create a new one, which I will call those conda create name Toto. Yes, I want to proceed. And okay, if normally it should have been created, I will just check it. Okay, so here is my new environment, Toto. Okay, it has been created. Now, in order to work in this environment, I will activate it. So there is also a very simple command to do that. It's conda activate Toto. Okay, and you can see here that the prefix has changed from base to Toto. And now that I'm in this Toto environment, I can, of course, install modules in that environment. So it's also quite easy. That's conda install NumPy, for example, and it will. Yes, I want to proceed. It will install the NumPy module and all that is needed in order to NumPy, sorry, to work. Okay, so I can write the simple command list, conda list, just to have the list of the modules that are installed under the Toto environment. And here they are. So here are all the modules that are installed under this particular environment. And then you can also create the requirements.txt file, which will be very useful if you want to share with other people, for example, the environments that you use and all the versions of module that you use. It's quite easy to create. This is conda list e. Oh, I don't know how to call this sign in English, but requirements dot text. And I think the file should have been created. So here it is, requirements.txt, and well, here is the file, and with all the, this is a list, in fact, of a simple list of all the modules that are installed under this particular environment. And so this file, it's written at the beginning. This file will be used to create an environment using that command. Okay, and so if you want to share, your environment, it's very useful. Okay, and well, I think now if you don't want to use that environment anymore, if you want to remove it, okay, you have to get out of this environment. So we return to the base environment, and we just we'll just remove it. Name Toto. Okay. With no mistakes, it's better. Just to check, I think. Okay, now the Toto environment has been removed. So, well, I just wanted to finish with that, because while Anaconda is a very useful platform to deal with Python, with a Python tool when you are starting, also with the environments. but after a few months of using it, I think you will be a little bit more efficient, and the Conda package manager can you can deal with your environment very easily also with the Conda package manager. Okay, and I think it's over for me. So Matthieu, I will let you the microphone.
Yeah, thank you, Vincent. I launch the sharing again. The share. Okay. Okay. So we are now at the third part about creating a script, and we can we will watch some useful concept first, and for this part we will work with two editors. In the previous workshop we have seen Jupyter in a collab, together, and today we will use Spider, because for scientific scripting it is an interesting tool, like MATLAB, if you have already used it. And for make another script or the application, we will use Visual Code Studio. It's a Microsoft tool, free and very light, easy to use and to launch quickly. So it's a good tool, very used today in Python, for make Python application. There is some useful concept we have to see together. First, the function. Function will allow us to make factorization of our code and reuse of our code, and we can make a declaration of a function like with the keyword def, like here a function in French, sorry for the code, get query, get square, and a parameters x, and you make the operation and you return a result. So this is a function. We can call it as we want, and it can take parameters and it can make a result or not. Well, it is not obligatory. There is we will see later how to create it and how to use it in live. There is another example here of a function with some useful things. Here I create my functions, and I put 3 parameters, mandatory params, stars args and double stars quarks. Here in the function, so you have an indentation, and with this indentation you enter in the function. You know, Python, you know, okay, it is in the function. First, we have docstrings. It is a documentation of the function. It's very useful because other developers can easily understand what your function do. And inside, I make some operation. Here, I print the first parameters. It is obligatory parameters. We need to put the parameters when we call the function. You have the call here, my functions, because it is his name, my function, and the first parameters, it is Python. We have to put these parameters, and I print it. After that, I verify if there is args, and the stars x here means you can have 0, 1 args on n args if you want. Same thing for the quarks, but quarks, it is for the list. You have 0, 1, or n list. So you can, if you have args in parameters, you can iterate on it and print the value. Same thing for the list. If you have quarks, you can iterate on it and print the item. So this is what I do here. I have the obligatory parameters, 1 quark, 1 args, the second args, and here a list with just 1 value. And you can print the documentation of the function when you use the NumPy, etc. You just have to type that $_doc$, and you will have, I don't print it, but we will see together after the result. You will see the documentation of the function. If we take this function, our function get query here, I can create another function get cube, and the return will be the cube of x, and another function get square root, and it returns me the square root value of a parameters. Here I use a math library module. I import it. I can use directly math, but for the example, I import it. And if I put all this function in a file, I call my file mymodule.py, and another script. In another script, I can make import my module, and I can call it and call the function for make the operation, for do operation. So in a variable, I record my module that get query. I pass a value 5, and the result will be recorded in my variable here. So we can call the function and as it is the module as we want. So that's a good point for us. We don't have to write again x multiplicate x when we want to use it. Here I underline result because there is a concept. Inside the function, the variable are local. So their existence are only in the function. And as you can see, we have two results because it is two variables different with two different places in the memory of our computer. So we can call it with the same name because it is not the same variable because it is local. If you write a variable here, it is a global variable and you can use it every place in the file. Okay, I take this module and I create another module. I don't know, perhaps for function for print, graphics, matplotlib, etc. I create again another module. I put it in a folder. I call my folder my package.py, and I add a file, a $_init_.py, and this is a package, and I can share my package with a deposit on Python package index, the PyPy, and after that, everybody can install my package with pipe install my package, like AstroPy. With AstroPy, it is a package with a lot of module like this package. So it could be useful for us and probably a good point for our programming. Okay. We have again something to watch together. Perhaps during my script, I have to make a divide, and I write in a variable a equals 5 divide 0. I think it is not a good idea, but I want to try it, and I print script. Okay. If I execute it in my interpreter's Python, there will be an error in the console, in the terminal, and Python will tell me, sorry, but there is a 0 division error. You try a division by 0, so it tells you some indication about the error, and it tells you the line because the execution will go upside in the backstack of the code to find the last function called, and it tells you the line where there is an error. Here it is a fatal error, global fatal error, because our script will not continue. It will stop at this line execution. That's not good for us because we don't want the users have a crash on his computer. So we can encapsulate it with a try except. So I write a try, and I say to the Python interpreter, okay, try to do this operation. And if there is an error, because this operation could be in a function, for example, and if perhaps the error can come, and if you give the possibility to the user to make to put a 0 and make a division by 0, he will do it. Certainly. So here we can catch the accept the error with accept 0 division error, because probably there will be this error. And if it catch this error, I print a line. The good point for us, it is my script will not stop after this exception. It will catch it, but it continue. It just tell to the users, okay, you try to make a division, it's not
Matthieu, on my side, sorry, on my side, I see the slide is still at the first code quality step, and okay. We don't see I don't know what happens.
I restart the sharing, perhaps. Okay, sorry. Desktop one. Okay. Okay. Is it okay for you?
Not yet on my side. So I have a black screen on my side, so
okay.
I can see all the faces, all the people, but I cannot see anything on the screen.
I try to share in different way.
Of course, tell us if this is different for. Well, I don't think this is on my side.
Did you see the try except?
No, no.
No.
I still have a black screen.
Okay, sorry for that. I will try to.
Olivier, do you see the same?
Yes.
Okay.
I try to unlock the share screen of Matthieu. So I think he can share again the screen now.
Okay.
Okay.
I try the desktop one. Okay.
Yeah. Again, we see a black screen.
Oh.
Well, we see nothing, in fact. Hey, what happens?
Perhaps if I disconnect for reconnect. I don't know.
Okay, I see the comments in the chat. Is Zoom in the same windows as the PowerPoint? Well, it worked, so I don't know.
Okay, I try another way. If I make it tick. No.
So we see the first part of the code quality,
okay.
So much better.
And now?
And now, yes, we have the second part with the try and accept. Perfect, thank you.
So I share only the PowerPoint. We will see after with the global desktop, but okay, it works.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay, so sorry for that. So we talk about try accept, and here you have the try, with the operations and the accept. If you are a zero division exception error, it will catch it and just print a message to the user and continue the script. So that's a good point for us, because the script is not crashed. The script continue to execute, and it could be useful for some example. If you give the possibility to a user for open a file, perhaps he will not open the good file extension. Perhaps he will try to start select a file and he will cancel. So we have to detect it. And the best the maximum use of try except is you try, okay, let's try some code. If there is an error, catch it in the accept. You can here detect a lot of error, like zero division error, file not found, etc. I tell you here the list of the native exception. You can find it, and you can create your exception if you want. After that, we have the else. If everything is okay with the try, okay, we can also call it. And finally, in every case, we can again call it with a message like, okay, the function have good run. Okay, so that allow us to make better code with no crash. There is another point important in Python and in programming in general. It is good practice. And in Python, it is a Python extension proposal, the PEP, with homogenization and good practice for legibility of the code. And for example, I take here the PEP 8, who tell us to make 4 space. It is your practice, I think, the best way, because I like for myself more indentation, you know, with the touch indent. I left the name, but the PEP recommend 4 space. I think the best practice is if you start your script with space, make your script with space. If you start with indentation, you have to make the script with indentation. Start off the script with import and 1 line per import, 79 characters per line maximum. I think it is a very long line, but maximum, 1 space between each element, etc., etc. So this is good practice for everybody who use Python and programming in Python could take a script and easily read it, because everybody use good practice, and it is more easily for everybody. Okay, I think we have all we want, and we can perhaps now try to make a script. So let's go. I stop sharing the PowerPoint and share my desktop. Okay, I hope it will work. And if everything works, you will see my terminal. And I make a mistake. Okay, so okay. This is my terminal. You can also do it on Windows in your command invite, and I am in my workshop folder. And in my folder, I have some other folder. I use PWD for get the path, and I use ls for list file, and I use also cd for change directory. You have the same thing in Windows, like dir for list files, and cd for change directory. Okay. I have make I do okay, do it source /ws2env/bin/activate for active my environment, and you have here the execution. I already do it. So this means I am in my environment, and I have installed with pipe some modules. So okay, I have some folders, and I have installed Spider. You can install it with Anaconda in your environment, and I already installed it because it taken quite of time. I launch it in my environment. Okay, let's go. Okay, and here we are in the editor Spiders. You have some element in the interface. On the left, you have the code editor where we type our code. There is other interesting element like IPython console here, terminal. Here you have some element like variable explorer, help, watch output like plots, online help, etc. And we have also interesting element like code analysis. And here, if I put my mouse on, it tells me, warning, these imports are not used. So it is useless code. It is not a good idea to write it because we don't execute it. I just take all the code of the first workshop Python, you know, our collab, and I copy and paste 2 things. I watch you the import, okay, and every import it tells me, okay, it is not used. You can erase it, and I passed the open fits file and spec1d preparation, and I passed also the display of the spec1d with matplotlib. Okay, I just do it, and I can execute. I can execute it with this play button, and if everything is good, okay, it executes my script. The code, the Python code of the first workshop was good. It's a good point, and I have the header, the fits header output here, and I have the Python matplotlib output here also. There is another interesting element. Here it is a variable explorer, and you can find all the value of your variable when you execute your script. And that's very interesting, because if you have error, if you have high memory consumption, etc., you can watch here what value is in your variable, and you can also modify it and save and close. So it is very interesting for debugging. And you have here the data of the feeds you have just opened before. So I like this this tool. You have a breakpoint. I told it just after. You have profiler for CPU and memory usage, etc. And I just say it before, you have a debugger. Here you can, with one click, make a breakpoint. And if you run the script, I go to the menu on the top, debug, I click on debug, and it will execute my file, my script, and stop on the breakpoint. And you have the execution here, and here it is the first call of the variable, so there is no initialization again of variables, so there is no value. But I can continue to the next breakpoint if I want by type here. It tell me here. It tell me you can continue with exclamation point continue. Okay, and you go to the next breakpoint. You can also go to the next breakpoint with the button of the top on the top, continue execution up, and go to the next breakpoint. So it is good good tools, because you can debug, you can find error or a mistake in your code with these tools. Okay. Our script is quite good, but I think it is we can optimize it, and I take these two parts because we have spectrum preparation here, and on the bottom we have display spectrum. So I take these two parts, and I think it is a good way to create function. So I create a new file. I take this part, I erase useless import, and I create a function def prepare spec1d. We take in parameters, it takes a feeds file path and return the spectrum1d and the header. So I can call this function when I want for create a spec1d. Okay, I just passed, and also I add a try except, because the user can be a funny guy. Here I add a prepare spec1d region, and here I create a function for show spec1d, and I don't return anything. I just show plot. Okay. I have also add one thing. It is the name main. The name double underscore name double underscore. It is a variable which is automatically created by Python, and this variable is available everywhere in your script and contains the name of the current script you execute. If you are in an import, the name value will be the name of the import, like AstroPy, if you want. If you are in the main script, the value of name will be main. So we can verify it. And if it is the general script, the main script, we can check it and go inside for execute some operation. So I verify it, and it will be useful after. I print scope value for check if it is a main, and I set a variable with the path file, and I create two variables, my spectrum and my header, because this is a return of the function prepare spec1d, who takes a parameter, which is the file path spectrum. Okay, so I have my two objects, my two value in variable, and I can call the show spec1d function with two parameters, because I created before the spectrum 1D and the header for show title axis, etc. And I can make a quickly execution with show spec1d and concatenate the other thing, because the return of some function can be put in parameter of other function. So in one line, I can call everything just in one line. Okay, so if I launch it, I hope it will be works. Okay, so I have my plot here with a zoom on H alpha line, because I create here a region, a spectral region, as we see in the first workshop. Okay, I think my script is a bit optimized. It's a good way, a good thing, but I think I can optimize again this script, and I create a new file, same code, but I add other function. Okay, like here we have the show spec1d, the same, and I add another function who show plotly spec1d, with the library we have seen together in the workshop 1. You can also use create graph, with plotly. So I make a function for it, and I create a function for show continuum. It doesn't return anything, just show here. And I create another function again for normalize a spectrum and return, in this case, the spectrum normalized. So a spec1d, but normalized. Okay, I have again more function. And now in my main here, I just add one thing. I use the sys module, the system module, to verify if I have arguments, if I have parameter when I launch the script. Because when I open a new terminal, I check where I am. Okay, script. I check. Okay. Just 2 seconds. Okay. If I want, I can launch also the script with Python 3, and we are in the script 3. Okay. Up. And I can execute it before as we've seen, and it will create something. But in this script, I add verification of arguments, of parameters, and I can add data / my fits derrière. And if I launch it, I hope it will plot the graph and show with matplotlib. Okay, so we can add some argument in the call of the Python script. This is what I do here. If there is argument, much than one, because the first, it is the name of the Python file. And if I have 2 args, I take the second, and this is the file path. Okay, I just make a big verification. Here, I just take, and if there is no arguments, I create a message like there is no file. Okay, and after that, I just call function like before. I just had this thing. If you want to use it in Python, you can go to the menu on the top, run configuration profile, and here in command line option, you can add the path of the data and run it like before in the console, and you have the value in your output. Okay, that's again a good point for us. Our scripts are again optimized, but I think we can go further and optimize it again, because as we see before, we can create a module. So I create a module with import and my function. Okay, so I add docstrings for documentation for every programmers who wants to know what the function do. And I passed all the function here, and I create a file. And the good thing is, as if we use this file as an import in another script, I can so call it, but the name will be betools. I call it betools.py here. So if I import another script, the name value will be betools. But if I use this module like a script without import, the name value will be main. So I can use this file like a module or like a script and just show my my spectrum in plot with matplotlib or plotly. Okay, so this is what I do, and in my script, my original script, now I have just import betools and the name with the call arm of my function, but I just add before the function betools because my function are in the module. Okay, so that's good because I have a module, I can use it very often. And the last thing, if in Spider, if you want to show documentation of a function, on macOS it is a Command E, but I think so on Windows it is probably the window key E. If I type it, I open the help, and I found the docstring I write in betools files, and you can see the parameters, which is the name of the parameters, the data type of parameters, and the returns. So you have documentation of your function, and this is very important when you create some code, because it is very difficult to enter, to discover a code when there is no documentation. You have to read the code and understand what the programmers want to do. So it is a better way with documentation for know quickly the code. Okay, I pass on. I switch to the PowerPoint. I will stay on this sharing. If there is a bug, I will switch on only PowerPoint sharing. Okay. Okay, we have seen how to create a module. We have seen how to create a script. And perhaps you want to create advanced applications on desktop with desktop application, and we will see two ways, with Tkinter first and with PySide. I just show you a quick slide on Tkinter because it is a very easy module, easy library, and when we start Python and when we want to create our first window application with window, it is the first library we try because it is very easy to play with it. So I just explain it quickly, but if you want to more use it, you can go to the documentation, and it is a very easily library. So in Tkinter, we have an event receptionist, which is catch all the events we will do on our application and execute with message sent to the core functionality of our program. For doing that, I import Tkinter. It is included from Python 3.7. Here I import all of the module of the package. This is not a good way. Don't do that. Okay. The good practice is to only import the module you need for your program. So here I make it quickly and for showing this this bad example. So but it works. You can do it if you want. And after that, I create a window. Window 1. I make an instance of Tkinter, TK, and I create a label which take in parameters the window, TK instance, and a text value here in the window with a mistake. And for add this label to the window, I call text.pack, and I add the label to the window. I make a button, and also it takes a window here, so instance ticket. I write a text on the button and a command. Here it closes the window. When one that destroy. I pack it to the window and I start the window loop, the event receptionist here, and he listen every events on the interface and execute the functions when you click on the button, etc. Okay, so it is a very easily library. You can use it for make your first application, desktop application. I make a big transition between two library with a PySide. There is also library between, but this is a two very easily and very advanced library for make application, desktop application. And PySide, it is the same things like PyQt. And Qt, it is a library for advanced interface creations. And why PySide and not PyQt? Because PySide have a larger license in LGPL than PyQt. So I use often PySide, and Qt in general is very popular in company use it for programming Python. And there is WYSIWYG editor. What you see is what you get. So you can just drag and drop elements for create your code and create your interface. It is very easy to create it. I pass quickly on this code, but we won't see a live example together, but all the code is in the package and you can play with it at the end. So you have just to import PySide and the elements. And if you want to switch between PySide or PyQt, you just have to modify here the import, and the rest of the code is approximately the same or really the same. Okay, and for use it, I make a class. I will talk a quick words after. And I set a window title with self that set window title. And for start the application, I make app equals Q applications because I import it here from PySide. I create a window, but window here is my main window instance. It is my class here, and window.show, and it will show a window. Okay. So what is a class here? For this library, we have to go to advanced programming with object programming. And what is very quickly, what is object programming? It is like a mold of sandcastle. You know, you have this mold, and you can create a lot of sandcastle with this mold, and you never have the same castle of sand here. Statistically, I think there is all the time different number of sun grain here, and this is you can make a generalization here with class and object. We have a class of code, we have a structure, a mold, and we can generate object instance of applications, and all these objects will have a life with number of sun grain, with color of sun grain, with etc. And you can set and get the information and set the information, set the color, set the number of grain, etc. So it is very powerful for create application and make a big architecture and create advanced application. So we need this advanced programming concept for create it. Okay, I pass. On the next slide, quickly some example. Here I just add a label to my applications, to my PySide applications. So app equals Q applications and label equal Q label, label that show, and it show it. I have the same thing for a button. I don't explain all the code, just in yellow here, you have a button, Qt widget that could push button. I add this button to the layout, okay, to the window, and also I add to the button I connect a function. And if I click on the button, it will be execute the function. And here it is my function. When I click on the button, it executes it. Okay. Another example, and this is some good point of this library. For example, there is a lot of example, but here you can use some layout. Here it is a grid layout, and I add button to the grid, and it is responsive. So if you execute on a little computer, it will reduce the space and the button size. And if you use a large screen, the button will, the space will adapt it and make better experience for user with your interface. And this is the very good point for design interface. It is a Qt creator or Qt designer. It is an application, and you can, as you see, take elements like radio button, like layout, the grid layout just seen before, the button, etc. You have just to drag and drop to your window here, and it creates the code for you. At the end, you have a file, that UE extension. It is XML. And you can load this file directly in your script for having your interface, or you can transform this file to a Python file with object like the class we've seen before. So it is very powerful and very easily to create application and make advanced interface. It is quite difficult to use it, but it is very, very powerful. So a very quickly example here, we have the view.ue, the XML code with, for example, the title here. We have a label here, and we have a button at the bottom. Okay, we have the view. We have another script app.py we have seen already before, but here I open the UE file equals Q file view UE, and it will load this view file for create the interface for us. You know, here I have window equals loader.load file. Okay, and after that I have a part of my application, and I can create controllers after. And in this controller, it is the work of my applications, like connect function to button, etc., etc. And you can tell me, okay, all this code just for one button. Yes, that's true. But it is a beginning. With this code, we can start to create very advanced application and begin to create it. So in the package at the end of this workshop, I will give you an example of Qt with PySide 2 of just a button for load a file of its file and show a graph, a spectrum with our fits file of playon from the first workshop. Okay, and to go further, for if you want some documentation about Qt and PySide 2, here an example of earthquake on a map where the code is explained, etc. And there is another library for create application, a desktop application. It is Kaiway. Not very old and very interesting for example, for create mobile application and design user-friendly design. So here is the documentation. Okay, that's all for our desktop applications. We can go now to
Matthieu, yeah, we have a question from Sean saying that is it possible to package up a PySide 2 desktop application to distribute to someone else, which is a very common application. So is it possible to do a package and to share it?
Yes. There is different level. You can first only create your application on your computer, and the very difficult thing is to share your script if you create your script on Mac OS X, for example, and if you share your script to someone on Windows, probably there will be problems. For example, on macOS X, I just have to put one line to say macOS to my script, say, okay, set the layer to 1, okay? And on Windows, I need to add 6 or 7 lines for the same script could execute it, could be executed. So here it is the very difficult way, but you can share it. If the other people install PySide 2, no problem, it will work. And you have the next level where you can package your application with an installer, a setup package with, you know, like, okay, get the path, next, install, finish, thank you. This is the best way for installation easily. You can make it with PyInstaller of other library. And also the difficult is to manage in your setup package the different execution for Windows, Linux, or macOS. So you can package your application, but you have to be careful on the preparation. It is again a next level after programming advanced interface. It is not very programming, but it is packaging, you know, and yes, you can, but it's quite difficult because I think it is not perfect again. There is a lot of things and it works, but you need to put your hands in and go. I hope it answered to the question. Let me know if no.
Yeah, Matthieu, this is Sean. Thanks. So the main question I had is whether it will work with PyInstaller, and you say it will.
So you can repeat. You use PyInstaller and it
yes,
doesn't work.
I'm using it now. So PySide will work with PyInstaller.
Oh, I think. For be very honest, I never used the PySide 2 with PyInstaller, but I won't see why it doesn't work. I will try because it is a good question, but to be honest, I never try to package a PySide 2 application with PyInstaller.
Well, that's okay. I'll try also.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't understand. So it works.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So don't hesitate to interrupt and ask question for sure. No problem. We can interact. It is or every time a good thing. Okay, so I continue to web application with two way Jupyter Notebook, but with Voila and Flask. First, with Jupyter Notebook, you know it perhaps. We use it in the first workshop like Collab. It is a Jupyter Notebook online on the cloud of Google, and we can take a Jupyter Notebook in local on our machine, our computer, and use widgets of Jupyter Notebook. It is just an extension of Jupyter Notebook, and you have an example here with widget select and show us a select menu with this code, and if you execute your Jupyter Notebook, it will work, and you can set to this widget some function execution, and we can also install with pipe the Voila module, and execute our Jupyter Notebook with Voila. You type in the console Voila and our notebook, and it will execute the notebook, but not show the code. It will only show the widget, and you will have your notebook with only the widget on the page. So it is very user-friendly for the usage application here, and you can use every day your application, and it works very, very well. We will see an example just after, and I just have to tell you another concept, another application, another module, which is Flask. Flask is a micro framework, like a package with a lot of module, you know, and with Flask, we can call a server applications with client. Client is like Firefox, Chrome, your browser, and you can type some URL, some link, some IP in your client, and make a get or post request. You just type enter in your browser, and it will call a route on the server, and this route will be execute a method, a function in your Flask application, because on this server we have Flask, okay, in Python. There is several routes, and so several function which is execute when you ask the route. A route, what is a route? It is this IP on my localhost, my local machine, my computer, and an IP with a port /home. This is a route, and this route execute a function. So I have in the server, this server here, that app, that route /home, and it executes the function def get index page. In this function, I just return the function render template, and it give to the client a web page index.html. So here is the result, hello world. So it's a good point for us, because here in the server we have Python, so we can execute AstroPy, we can execute Plotly, and here on the browser we have web page. So we can create and prepare HTML, JavaScript, CSS with Bootstrap, for example. So it's very interesting, and perhaps you will tell me that, okay, but I don't want to create a web application. I don't want to create to have a server online and manage it, etc. But here the two things are our computer, and you can install Flask on a Raspberry on your computer or other computer, and launch your Flask application. And in your browser, if you go to your local IP address, you can call your Flask application and get the result on your browser. And the very interesting thing is, if you you set the IP address when you launch your Flask application, and not in local, but with the IP address of your computer or of your Raspberry. Here, for example, my IP address on my home network, you can access it with smartphone, with tablet, with other computer, by the Wi-Fi, etc. So it is a very interesting way to have an application and access it with other peripherals. If you are outside from your telescope, you can have your computer inside on the Wi-Fi and just access it. So let's watch. Let's go to watch how we can create it with an example. So I just out here, and I switch to first example with Jupyter Notebook. So here I am in script folder. Okay, I have a folder NB, voila, and I have my notebook here, spec NB. Okay, very original. And I just call Jupyter Notebook. Okay, I have installed it before with pipe. I launch it. Okay, and it starts a Jupyter server notebook on my computer, and I have here my notebook. I launch it, and okay, I import some kind of module here with IP widget, the widget of the Jupyter Notebook, Panda, the OS and system, because I want to use our module we have just created before, like btools. And for make that, I have to precise to my Jupyter Notebook, okay, this is a path on my computer, you have to watch here and you will find my module. Okay. And I have install and I import the IPy Aladdin, which is a widget of Aladdin. I can pop it in a Jupyter. OK. And I create some widget. Okay, just initialization here. So I create a button widget that file upload for upload the file. I create an output for the result of the spectrum. I create a label for the show text, and I create another output widget for showing the Aladdin output, and I create again an output widget of the head of my fits file. Okay, so I just create some elements, and now I will play with it. Okay, for doing this, I have create a function, and this function will be called when the user will load a file on the button file upload, and for execute it, I have at the end a method button upload that observe, and when someone put a fit files, it will call on data change. Okay, but before I have to define my function. Okay, so here is my function. My function, I clear the spectrum output, because if I have already created a spectrum, I erase it. I create just a message for loading, and I open the fits files when someone open a file, upload a file, and I will get the value, okay, the file name, and write in a folder. Okay. After that, my file is in the folder tmp, okay, because I write it here, tmp/spec IP fits. I already give the same name. So after, I can prepare a spec1d because I have my module BE tools, okay, and after that, I create a plot with my module BE tools again. Okay. After that, I will use with spectrum output. So I will display the plot in the spectrum output, you know, the elements I prepare before for showing the result. I make the same thing with Aladdin. So I record in a variable the result of Aladdin widget, and I put it on my page with display. Okay. And I just write another text to set, okay, spectrum is loaded. After that, I just iterate on the header for showing value, and again, I put the value on my page with the display. Everything is ready. I just now, it is my function. I just have to put the element of the page because the function will refresh it. But as the first launch, I have to put the element, even if they are not with data. Okay, so I call again display, and I put it in box, vertical box or horizontal box, and you have the button upload, you have the label, you have the spectrum output I just created before. Okay, if I execute it, it will work, but as we can see, it is not very user-friendly. There is code. Okay, I write you some the code. Sorry, the command installation for IP Aladdin, etc. And I have installed before Voila with pipe, and I can execute Voila, my notebook, with the extension enable, because I use a widget and I use a IP Aladdin. Okay, I just make it. I switch to my terminal where I am, NB Voila. Okay, I passed Voila, and my notebook, I launch it. I will start a new server, and it works. That's a good point. Okay, and here it is our application with only the widget and the text, you know. So I have my button, upload. I can select a file. So I am in the folder Voila, and I take the play on fits file. We have since the start of the workshop. I load it and it works. Good point for me. So you have the spectrum here. We are the header and we have the Aladdin widget, and it is interactive. It is a very interesting widget because it is plain. I just take in the code, I take the name value here in the header, and I give to Aladdin and ask it, please go to Playan and plot me the result, so I can play with it, manage, etc. So it is very interesting because the user doesn't have the code here on your application. You can create a server online, install Jupyter Notebook, and execute the application. Voila. Okay. In the third workshop, Python workshop, we will see an example with a database from UV. Perhaps you know a very interesting database which use this technology, which use this Voila and Jupyter Notebook. But I don't tell more. I switch to Flask example. Okay, so I take my Visual Code Studio, so another editor. Okay, I have my folder. It is a package I give you. We give you at the end of the workshop. I have my virtual environment, the script, the NB Voila, the graphical app, and Flask. Okay, in Flask, I have two applications, the base and the B-Web app. Okay, I go to the base app, and I have our modules, btools, and the main. Okay, here you have a terminal, you have a console. I am in the base. Okay, workshop, lag, Flask, base. Okay, and in my environment. Okay, good point. I import Flask first. I import Flask render template and Plotly, because I have to. I will plot spectrum. So Plotly is a good library. So I take it and I import our module btools. Okay. Now we can create a Flask application. First, we have to make a Flask instance. How we make it? We have just to call Flask, and in parameters, the scope, because it's the scope, the name variable, and I recorded in the app application. With this variable app, we can make everything in our app and create some root. So I use a decorator. We call it a decorator in Python. It is advanced concept in Python, and I call this root slash root. So if I just type the IP address, I go to this root, and it called the function index and return me only some a bit of HTML code index page. I have make another root app root hello, equal the function hello with a variable name to show, and I can return two things. First, the design HTML, a web page, and a variable username. This username variable will be available on my design HTML page. That's very interesting because I can pass some value, name to show here. And I have make another root slash spectrum and equal the function spectrum. And I just create a spectrum with our btools module and a Plotly, and I add this Plotly, this figure here. Okay, this figure to IO to HTML. It is a function of Plotly for create HTML and JavaScript object, and I can record it in div plot and pass the div plot to my web page. Okay, for start the application, I just have to make app that run. Here I am in debug because that is interesting. If I launch, so here you have the same elements in this Visual Code Studio, and here you have the environment. You can see here. If I click, I watch all the environments I use every day, and you can select it, ws2env, and okay. And if I click on the play button here, it will execute my mine.py file in the console here. Okay, I execute it. It works. It starts me serving Flask application main. Okay, it tells me it's running on the local host address. Okay, very good. It works. And there is a here in parameters debug true, because if I change one value and record the file, it will restart the server. That's very interesting because we don't have to restart again, etc. If we make a modification, it will restart for us, and we just have to check the HTML file. You can also start your application, as we've seen before, with app that run, and in parameters you set host with your IP address, like Raspberry, like your computer on your local network, home network, etc. And you can access your application on other computer. Okay, my application Flask is start. I can go to localhost. I just set the port 5000 for Flask, and it is the root root, and give me just index page, in HTML very easily. And if I type another root like hello, he find me the root because I have a template inside. I will show you after. And if I go to Spectrum, same thing. I have my web page with the Spectrum. Here I don't have put button for edit, upload button, sorry. I just create it and pop it and push it in the index HTML. Okay. You can see a difference between the two pages, because here the design is quite dirty, purely HTML, and on the root also. And if we go to hello, we have a better design with a button, etc. And why? Because I switch to my code. Because here, okay, I return the render template design.html. And if I go to the templates folder, I will have my template. I record all the file HTML here. And the first page, it is just hello. Okay, we start here. You will change, sorry for that, just change in my root here, hello, HTML. I switch here, and if I refresh, okay, I have my parameters, and it's telling me, okay, hello, Matthieu. If I watch my hello HTML, you can see here the template with h2, the title, and here we have the variable username. You can execute some Python code in your HTML file with accolades %if username exists. Okay, I show username variable, but if username don't exist, I go in the else and I just show the hello. So if here I cut username, okay, click, I restart, and if I refresh my page, it just show hello because the username value don't exist. Okay, but as we've seen, the design is not very interesting, so I create a new design. I create a new design, and I have used Bootstrap. What is Bootstrap? I go again to my hello HTML, and I show you the Bootstrap page. So here I go Bootstrap. Okay, Google, thank you. Bootstrap is a JavaScript framework, and we can create very easily design a web page with it, and we can go for this page, and bottom we have the installation. We can make it with npm, but it's quite technical, and we can just, when you only need to include Bootstrap, okay, that's for us. You can just have to take the CSS link for usage. Okay, I take it, I passed it to my web page here. Okay, so I have my CSS declaration like an HTML page, and I will take the JavaScript declaration. Okay, click. I passed it here, and if I refresh the page, there is a quite modification. The title have changed. Okay, because all the design CSS is in this file, and we can go to Bootstrap, watch the documentation, and in documentation we will have components, and in components button, for example, you have a lot of things, and I can take a button success. Success. I just copy and paste in my script, okay, in my web page, and if I refresh, I go to my hello page. Tell me if I go too quickly. I refresh, and I have my button with, as you can see, user-friendly design for create a button with round, etc. It takes quite of time, and here we can use it very easily, and we can go further because in Bootstrap, sorry, I switched the app. We can go to example. Okay, and here, because a button is good, man, but I'm not a very good designer. Button is a bit soft. Okay, and here we have some example of application until with menu bar, with search bar, etc., etc. And you have a lot of application here. You can download all the example. It is for that, and you have the code, and you can use it. And it is HTML code. So that's what I do here. Up, I switch. In the package, I have a folder autre outil, another tool, and I passed the package here. And you have all the example. I take the sticky footer, for example, and I have an index HTML. Okay, I take all this code. I just passed in my. I just passed. Okay, sorry, in my template design HTML. Okay, I just passed it here, and replace the CSS link just before, and I just set the path to this file to my static folder, because in static folder I have my sticky footer, and for Flask you just have to call the function url4, and you set the folder and the file name, and with that I can change. I switch to my main Flask application. I change hello to design because I pass the design inside. And now, if I refresh, sorry, the page hello, I have my design, and it is responsive also. You can use it for mobile. You have a title, etc. You have a footer. It is very a good way and very quick way for create a design application, a web application for Flask and other website if you want. Okay, that was a short example of Bootstrap. I go to Flask application again. So this is the base example. Okay, we have seen how to create an application. We have seen how to make root, spectrum root for show, plotly, spectrum, etc. And I have another example. I go to bweb app. Okay, I am here. Oh, I just clear. Okay, set. Okay. CD base. Okay, I go to CD bweb app. the other folder application, I have the same thing, the main, the BE tools package, module, sorry, the template, the static, and a folder files upload and a folder data. Okay, I close the previous file map, and I just open the main.py of the B web app. I have the same thing for my root. Okay, I just set a upload folder with which name is files upload. I run an instance of Flask just like before, and I set the configuration of the app.config upload folder and the name of upload folder I just created before, the variable. Okay, so my application is okay. I can create some root, and I make the square the root, and I return the index.html just like before. I create another root. I call it simple viewer, and this root could take get or post. Okay, you can get information or you can send information like files upload. Okay, and I have a a function upload file, which is called when someone calls this root. If it is a post, so if it is a files upload, I take the file, I verify the file name in secure way, and I record it to my upload folder, which is files upload. Okay, I create a spectrum with my module BE tools. I create a spectrum IO1D, spectrum and the header, because it is a return of my function. And I create a figure with BE tools get plotly figure. Okay, nothing new. And I take this figure and I put it in the IO2 HTML, the div plot, and I can return to my page the div plot. So now I have the function with files upload. If, because you have a if EC, okay, if there is post, so if someone posts a file, I go inside this function, inside this request method part of code. But if the user don't have post files, I return render template, but the plot value variable, it is not the div plot, it is only a text message, please select a file. Sorry, I don't translate it. Okay, so we have our function for upload, and as I have one upload file, I can make multiple upload files. So I create another root, multiple viewer, get post, and I just here set get list of files, because you can select a lot of files if you want, and I just iterate on it for create spectrum, each spectrum, and I make a plotly multi-spec 1D. I passed the function in the BE tools. It is the same function like create spectrum, but I iterate on spectrum and add it to a plot. Okay, and same thing. If there is a file, I show the plot. If there is not a file, I show the page with only a message. Okay, at the end of the file, I just create another root about and a root and start my application. Okay, here it is. Okay, I start my app, B web app. Okay, hope it will work. Okay, it works. I tried before. I go to localhost. Okay, localhost. Oh, sorry. 5,000, and I used Bootstrap within just before for add a logo, and we have the sticky footer here. We have just used it before. I take the same web page and I just change the title and add button with some color. So here it is my home root, and I have a simple viewer root, the function we have just seen before. I select a file in workshop flask bweb app and tick data. and I select play on file. Okay, I upload it, and I have my spectrum here in my application with better design than before. And the very good point with Plotly is it is interactive, so I can zoom in the spectrum, I can watch the value, I can go to the home, etc., etc. And I can test my multiple viewer route. So I have the same thing, select files, and I will take multiple. I just it is the same file. I just copy and paste 4 times, and in the function, in the BE tools module, I add a ratio parameters for make a shift between the spectra. Sorry, for have a shift and watch it. Otherwise, it will all stack, and we just see one spectrum. So I have here my multi-spectra viewer. That's a good point, because again, it is interactive. You can select one and show or multiple, and here I have multiple viewers, so I can go further and use Plotly for make a 3D visualization. So I add in the BE tools module. It is an example I have posted from a question from Etienne Bertrand, who want to see the evolution of the alpha line. And I use the same function here of the multiple viewer, and I just change the Plotly object. So I have multiple file viewer. It is the same index HTML page. Okay, I reuse it, and I select the Etienne Bertrand file here of it is a Novapair 2020. I paste it and upload, and it will create for me a Plotly of the H alpha line and the evolution in the time. It is in the wrong way, and it is the good way. You have November to January here, and it is very interesting because it is interactive and in 3 dimensions, so very user-friendly usage. So that's all for me about Flask application, but you can see what kind of application we can do with this library. I just switched to the PowerPoint last time. Up. Okay, just for one slide. Okay. I put the bibliography, but as in the last workshop, it is in French. Sorry, I just had 1 books, I think, in the previous workshop, some source and web documentations for learn Python from start to advanced. And this is the slide I want to show you. It is a package we have prepared for you with a script. You have basic script to the module, the graphical application, the Voila notebook app, and the Flask base application and B-Web app application. And you can take it and play with it. It will be available on the same deposit of the last workshop on for the presentation on the Sheliak YouTube page. YouTube channel, sorry, and for the code and the same place on my GitLabs in the Aspite deposit and folders, notebooks, workshop Sheliak. Okay, and if you have some questions, some difficulties, if you just want to talk about Python or all you want, don't hesitate to contact us, send us a message. It will be a pleasure for sure. That's it for me. That's all for me. Thank you for your attention. I hope it was not too hard with my English and quite interesting. And I stop my presentation here. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Matthieu. Thank you. Maybe because we're not that there is not too much people online, you can switch on your microphone if you want to ask questions. So I can also have a look at the chat if you prefer, but do not hesitate to ask questions.
Matthieu, this is Sean again. I have another question. If I were to build a Voila Jupyter Notebook app, can the user still see the Python code in Jupyter, or is that hidden from them? I don't want them necessarily to see all of the workings in behind.
Yes. Yes, you can choose if you pass your Jupyter Notebook online, they will see the code. But if you you create a server with a Jupyter Notebook library and Voila, and you execute your application on a link, a URL, the user only see the Voila application, just the widget, and don't see the code. I don't know if it is it answers to the question.
So I could put the notebook on something like AWS or something, and then
Yes,
they would just have the Voila part. Okay, that makes
absolutely.
sense.
Let me show another just quickly. There is a my binder. Sometimes I don't really. It's not very easy to use it. There is some bug or I don't know. I just share you one thing because it is not very easily for everybody to create a server to manage the online access of the server, etc. You can create a Jupyter Notebook, deposit on a GitHub, GitLab, whatever you want, and just pass the path of the GitHub here of your deposit, and type /voila/render, and it will create for you an online application. And you find often on the deposit just a little button of a notebook, and the user can click it and launch application in my binder, and you have your Voila application. It is a good way for don't have to manage server, access server, etc., which is quite difficult perhaps. Okay, that's all.
Great, that looks good. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other question?
I watched the question about Chris. I used Spider at work a year ago, but there is problem with debugger not always working properly. It is possible. I don't know if it is better in Spider 4. Again, to be honest, I used often Visual Code Studio and PyCharm. When I debug, it is not a good practice, but I use the variable explorer, and I use very often, a log or a print of the value of the variable to watch it and go and debug my application quickly. And if I have a big application, I use debugger for what step and the variable value, but I don't know if it is better in the Spider 4. For be honest, I have not the answer.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is it possible to package the desktop? Okay. First tutorial Jupyter Notebook. Okay. First tutorial Jupyter Notebook did not open for me because of JSON error. Is it the collab of the first workshop, or is it notebook or the website tutorials?
So I downloaded the notebook
collab
file onto my local hard drive, and I couldn't open it. It's it came up with JSON errors. I ran it through VS Code, and it sort of all came out red. So I tried the French version. It was the same.
So yes, there is sometimes if there is a corruption in the file, or sometimes the open of netbook of Jupyter Notebook, if it's true, it make an error, but all the time for me it was just file corruptions, or try to open a collab in Jupyter Notebook usage, and the collab have to be open in Colab on Google, but that's very true. Sometimes the notebook, if the export doesn't, I don't know, doesn't really work good, or I don't know why. When you open it in other way, there is a JSON error, because all the notebook are right in JSON, and if there is a shift between the line, it doesn't open the notebook. Yes.
I did try opening the notebook,
okay,
which had the suffix IP and whatever it is.
Okay.
I tried opening it in a browser,
Okay.
and it came up with it looked like the Git sort of page, the sort of Git menu bar across the top. So I'm not sure if it maybe didn't export properly.
Okay. Probably.
Just one thing. I've just tried to because in fact, if you are running this script in Colab, you have to restart the environment, so not to have this JSON error. And then I just have taken this script and copy it in under Jupyter Notebook. And well, I have no mistakes on my computer, but if you want, I can send you the file requirements.txt with all the version of modules which are installed, and I think it should, with a good version of all modules, it should work.
Please, thanks.
If you have just send me your an email, and I will send you back the requirements.txt.
Okay, I didn't see other questions. Thank you very much all for your comments. It's a real pleasure. Thank you.
For sure, after such a workshop, we have a lot of things to try to test and to investigate. And the first guy who is able to redo all what we have seen tonight, please tell us. This is challenge. Okay, any other question, or do we stop here? Any comment? That's it? 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Perfect. Okay, so thank you very much to everybody. Thank you for your attention, and talk to you soon, at least for the next workshop in April the 2nd. Right, Olivier? This
yes.
is the
is April the 2nd at the same time.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good day. Have a good night, depending on when you are, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.